Hello and welcome back to the Restart channel. My name is Shayda and today's video is a little bit of a history lesson behind Restart, how and why we started the brand. We are actually celebrating 5 years in business this August 18th, if you can believe it. It is a huge milestone and we are incredibly proud of this opportunity that we've had. And I have to give thanks to you, our listeners, our viewers, our consumers, our customers, our community. We simply wouldn't be here without you and your support, so thank you. I want to take this moment just to kind of highlight a little bit about how and why we got started, as well as touch on some accomplishments that we've achieved over the years, and really just wanted to say thank you again for supporting us and believing in our brand. It's been an exciting last 5 years and I look forward to the next 5. So Restart is a brand that I started with my sister. So we are a women-owned and sister-owned cannabis brand. We're based in our hometown of Austin, Texas. Yes, we were all born and raised here in Austin. Obviously, Texas doesn't have the most friendly cannabis laws, so I would say growing up, it wasn't necessarily an aspiration for us to get into the industry. I think if you've connected with us through this channel or got a chance to meet my sisters and I, you know that we love cannabis. So we've been cannabis consumers and supporters for many years, but the act of actually getting in the industry wasn't something that we were looking for or really were interested in investing in until in 2015, the end of 2015, I was actually in a car accident. So I was hit by a vehicle as a pedestrian in downtown Austin, and I fractured my pelvis, my sacrum specifically, and had a couple other fractures, some of my face, and still am, navigating through some of that chronic pain. But at the time when the accident happened, I was thrust into traditional Western medicine. Again, this is 2015. I'm then kind of going through recovery in 2016, and I was being prescribed opioids. I was being prescribed and offered steroid injections to see if that would help mitigate my pain. And if you're listening to this and you're navigating chronic pain, I see you, I feel you, I hear you, I understand. And at the same time, I don't, because I do believe that everybody's pain is uniquely personal to them, their trauma, their experiences, the way that they've managed it or have found ways to manage. And I think that that was something that I was very ill prepared to navigate, especially in my mid-20s. And it was an unfortunate reality that I was confronted with. I was now dealing with chronic pain, and the doctors and traditional medicine approach was honestly not doing it for me. I'll take a moment quickly just to highlight, this is my personal experience. We are not doctors. Everyone's situation is unique. And I do encourage you to always seek medical help first. Given that information, that's what I did. That was my first course of action. And so I was doing that until my mother, our mom, since we're a family brand, our mom introduced me to CBD. And I always like this point in the story because what was CBD in 2015 and 2016? If you're familiar with hemp's legalization, hemp didn't get legalized federally until 2018, thanks to the 2018 Farm Bill, and it didn't get legalized in Texas until 2019. And so back in 2015, 2016, I was scratching my head. I was like, what the heck is CBD? And at the time, our mom had heard that it had tremendous anti-inflammatory properties, which was a huge trigger for me. Again, dealing and navigating with chronic pain, I was looking for anything that was going to help me feel better in my body. And so also in our, inception story, I always like to highlight, I'm the firstborn, I'm the oldest sister. And I think there's a little bit of personality that comes with being the oldest. With that, I very much revere and respect and listen to my parents. When my mom suggested CBD, as crazy and wild as that sounded to me at the time, I was paying attention. I was doing what my mom said. So my mom had suggested I try CBD. And for me, it was a complete unknown. I didn't know how to take it, how much I was going to use, how much was going to actually be helpful, what was the best form factor. And so those early years for us, I would say 2016 until we launched our brand in 2018, were really me and then subsequently my sisters going on this journey to figure out what is CBD, how much do you take, and what are the best form factors. For me, it was night and day. I remember being on a very intense, some would maybe say a larger dose, an overdose of CBD, but we all know that you cannot overdose on cannabis. The side effect of too much is drowsiness, which, you know, when you're trading that for opioids or you just really want to feel better, you're kind of looking for any resolve. And so for me, I remember I had been on CBD. I was using edibles my mom was making. I was applying topicals on the spot, specifically to my hip and pelvis area. I was also vaping CBD. And again, there's not a particular dose. It was just a large dose. I remember just doing all of it just to see if it would help. And the reality was it wasn't very helpful immediately. It wasn't like I smoked the vape and then I, you know, wasn't in as much pain. It wasn't like I ate the edible and then my pain went away the next day. For me, CBD, and really what we've observed for our consumers and our customers, is it's a buildup. You need to accumulate these cannabinoids in your system, almost like a supplement. So for me, it took a little bit of time, of consistency, of taking these products that my mom was making at the time, because there wasn't really a market for going to a dispensary like Restart, shopping, talking to a bud tender, talking to someone who was knowledgeable and educated, watching a YouTube video, or, you know, having a conversation on social media. It was still super foreign. Honestly, it was a little bit of a big question mark. I mean, it was a lot of a big question mark. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so that experience of me and my family really surrounding me, supporting me, and choosing to invest in education, invest in consumption for our own, you know, uses and personal experiences and effects. And ultimately that was what helped pave the foundation for us to realize there must be something about this CBD thing. So for me, it was a couple of weeks into this overconsumption of CBD products that my mom was making for me, that I remember I used to not be able to lay, lean, sleep. You can kind of tell I'm crossing this way. I like to lean on my right side. And I remember waking up on the left side of my body one morning and it didn't feel like my body was crushing itself, which was a completely night and day experience post-accident. I could not put any weight on the left side of my body. And it's something that I like to highlight because, again, I think this is such a personal experience. You know what your pain is, you know what your limits are, and you know what a difference a product can make. And so it's also important to highlight, it's not that cannabis, CBD, THC, insert whatever cannabinoid, it takes my pain from a 10 to a 0, but it takes my pain maybe to a 4 or a 5 or maybe even a 6, and I can still be in control and I can manage and give myself what I need. We also get asked a lot, you know, what is the right product? And really it's what works best for you. I love using a topical for on-the-spot treatment. I love taking a sublingual oil in the evenings for my everyday dose. I still enjoy consuming edibles. And so it's really, you know, hopefully my comments about this are really to encourage you to figure out what's the best combination for you, what's the right dose for you, what's going to ultimately work for you. But that was really the foundation for us to find value, to find merit in CBD. Again, having a history of being very cannabis friendly and being cannabis consumers in general, introducing CBD was just another tool in the toolkit. I was very aware of what THC did, but THC and CBD, two independent cannabinoids, wow, what happens when I take just CBD? What happens when I take CBD and THC together? And I think that's, again, another point of exploration for you that I hope that you take away with from this video and from this conversation. There's so much to this plant, and the only way that you're gonna find out what works for you is to really explore it safely and comfortably to your preferences. But that was really the pivotal point for us as a family. I remember waking up feeling really wowed by what I was feeling. And at the time, CBD was the only input that I had really changed compared to my diet, my lifestyle, my exercise, etc. And so that really was what gave us a lot of confidence in leaning into the conversation. So again, my accident was like 2015, 2016. I was still going through my recovery process, but we didn't launch the brand until 2018. So between 2015, 2016, and 2018, that was really that exploratory period for me and my family, me and my sisters, really just using these products. So obviously I come about it from a pain perspective. My two other sisters, my middle sister, Sydney, she is a former collegiate athlete. She swam for the University of Texas. She is a current Under Armour athlete, and her story is a little bit different. And she really approached it, one, from watching me, her older sister, navigate chronic pain. She comes from a background where she was getting drug tested heavily and navigating that from a collegiate athlete perspective, just from an athletic perspective in general, and really wasn't sure about cannabis's place in her life until the door cracked open with my personal experience. And so Sydney really started looking at cannabis and CBD in particular for an anti-inflammatory perspective as an athlete. So obviously we know CBD is super anti-inflammatory. Other cannabinoids are anti-inflammatory too coming out. CBG is another great one. THC, of course, can help mitigate pain and inflammation. But from Sydney's perspective, she couldn't consume THC, especially at those times being in college. That would interfere with her athletic status. And so she was really looking for alternative cannabinoids that could help her recognize what opportunities there might be within cannabis. And so for us as a family, this was really exciting because so much of cannabis was just very high THC, only really smoking cannabis. There wasn't a lot of exploration or discussion or products really that we were seeing that were speaking to the wide range of products that you're seeing on the marketplace today. And certainly the products that we sell at Restart CBD. And just even on that note, you know, we started as a CBD brand, but now we obviously carry so many other cannabinoids. And I think that's just a testament to the value that this plant has and the opportunity for you as an individual to figure out what works for you. I don't want you to feel persuaded or influenced by what works for me or what works for Sydney or what works for Nika or anybody else out there. It's really, my goal is to help you feel confident and comfortable figuring out what is going to be best for you. So once Sydney kind of recognized, hey, there's other ways that we can address this conversation, there's other applications for these products and these cannabinoids, that really gave us a lot of power to say, hey, let's come together. We have a really great idea. Let's see if we can bring it to market. But I wish it was that rosy, like, oh, we had this idea and we immediately went straight to market. I'll give you the TLDR version, which is too long, don't read. I want to say that, yes, I love being an entrepreneur, but being an entrepreneur is super scary. And especially in this industry, there's a lot of challenges that we endure, but it wasn't, again, it wasn't my dream. It wasn't my first, jumping off point to say, I'm going to open a cannabis brand because I've had this experience from my accident. No, it was actually quite the opposite. We didn't really know where hemp's legalization was going. Again, if you recall, I just mentioned we launched in 2018 in August, and hemp wasn't federally legalized until December of 2018. So it wasn't like we were ahead of the curve or that we knew that this was happening. We just were trying to talk about things that we had been moved by, essentially. These products, this plant had really moved and impacted our lives individually and personally. And so we saw an opportunity to bring that to market really with an education focus. So it's something that I wish I could say was a very intentional plan, but it was the best thing that could have happened for us because we really just leaned into it and we were learning and growing along the way, realizing that not only were we learning and growing, but we were also trailblazing. We were taking these ideas that we were coming across and we were sharing it with our community, with our consumers, with our city, and we were able to have conversations that helped us build the stepping stones for what is Restart today, which is a brand that we're super proud to say that we've been recognized as a top leader in cannabis here in Texas, certainly in our home city here in Austin, as well as nationally recognized. I feel super grateful for all the accomplishments and achievements that we've had. But again, it's one of those things that we got into the industry really just because it truly helped me feel more at peace in my body. And that's something that I'm really excited that we're able to offer and help share with our audience, because cannabis is really personal. It's not going to affect you the same way it affects me, or you the same way it affects your neighbor or your sibling or your spouse or your friend. And that's okay, that's great. But part of that ownership then of exploring cannabis falls to you. And so those early years, we launched the brand. And like I said, we were very CBD focused because that was what the market was basically opening up for us, was the legalization of CBD in particular derived from hemp. But now, fast forward a couple of years, you started seeing the introduction of Delta 8 glyphosate, hemp-derived delta-9, other cannabinoids like CBG and CBN. And we're always learning and we're always trying to figure out what is going to be the best way to grow the business, what are our consumers, our customers asking for, what's legal, what's going to be compliant with both state and federal laws, and ultimately what opportunity do we have to bring those products and that education to market. And so again, for us, it was a really great opportunity to turn a really sour situation, me going through that accident and still navigating chronic pain today. Again, I don't want to paint a picture like I'm pain-free. Like I mentioned, I'm still leaning on my right side. There's certain things that are very uncomfortable for me to do, but going back to that analogy, for me, when I'm on cannabis, I can be in control of how I manage my pain. I have a great CBD routine for the daytime. I have a great THC and CBD routine for the evening. And so it's really just about finding what is the right dose, what are the right products that's going to work for you. But over these 5 years, it's been really magical. Again, I can't fathom, if you would have asked me 6 years ago what I would be doing if I would be in cannabis, I would have laughed at you. And yet here we are, and it's all just thankful to, the opportunities that have presented themselves to us. And I'm super grateful that I get to do it with my family, do it with my sisters. And I think, it's really important for us to echo that, to make people feel comfortable, make people feel safe. And that's really been embedded into the ethos of why Restart. And so another question I get all the time is, what does the name mean, or Restart? So I have to give credit again to my mom. My mom came up with the name. I think sometimes you might hear, AD or BC, it's like after death or before Christ, those kind of, time period markers. For us, I think of my life before Restart and I think of my life after Restart. And really that accident was such a pivotal moment for me because I was in my mid-20s, I was very active. So after the accident, obviously I became sedentary. That was really challenging for me, and trying to figure out how I was going to feel more comfortable in my body was a really big confrontation that I had to deal with. And so again, using cannabis, using Restart as the foundational point for us to be able to have these conversations to empower other people has been really, really rewarding. And we're super grateful that we get to do that. And part of the name comes from restarting your life before versus your life after. So the accident, while it was very challenging and very uncomfortable, it was an opportunity for me to restart my life. And we really see Restart and cannabis as an extension of our brand as a way for people to feel like they're in control, like they can feel better, they can get the needs that they have met through our products and through this plant. And that's really rewarding, that people have an opportunity to start again, to restart. And so I hope that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable and confident in who we are and how we got here and why we're doing what we're doing. But it's really been a beautiful journey. There's been so many amazing customers, so many amazing conversations that we've had, the way that people have opened up about their own unique journeys, which has really helped empower us to continue our education, to continue learning, to take that feedback, to put that into our product, our R&D, our development. And I just can't wait to see what we get to accomplish next. And thank you so much for being a part of the ride, being a part of the journey, and really celebrating with us for 5 years in business. It's an amazing milestone. And I'm so blessed and grateful that I get to do this with my family and do this in my home state of Texas and really champion cannabis from Austin to wherever you might be. So thanks for tuning into this video. I hope you learned something new and would actually love to connect with you. I know we get a lot of DMs, we get a lot of comments here on YouTube. Please drop them down below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear where you're watching from, what state, what city, maybe how long you've been a fan of our channel or how long you've been a customer of Restart. So reach out. We'd love to connect. And I thank you again for your time and support, helping us champion and communicate about cannabis and the values that cannabis can provide to people with a little bit of education. Thanks again. Make sure you hit subscribe and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.